Good evening, everybody. It is a Football Friday again, and we are back. The Safety and the Sportswriter show with Knoxville Nate and Big Joe. Before we get started, hey, we want to throw out our prayers and hopes for all the people in Florida and wherever else that Ian is going to hit in South Carolina and beyond. Everybody who has been hit already, we hope that the recovery is easy for you, and also anybody in the future. I hope that maybe the gods are looking down and the storm passes. So hopefully everybody hangs in there and nothing gets worse than it is already. So how you doing, Nate?
I'm doing good, buddy. Yeah, it's just crazy to me how we keep having these unbelievably destructive storms. But I did see, some post about electrical workers. There was like hundreds of electrical workers that were, right outside the hit zone, waiting to be able to for the roads to be cleared so they could go in and start helping people. And that is the one good out of this is sometimes you can see that there still are good people that want to help others and that give a shit. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think we learned a big lesson in Katrina. I mean, there should never be a time when we have people in America that are hanging on their rooftops hoping that a helicopter can rescue them.
Yeah.
And, lose, three, what, they lost a third of one of the largest cities in America. I mean, it's weird. It's good that we learn our lessons. Too bad it comes at high prices. But speaking of that, we're getting back in. We got football again this week. We got some surprising stuff from last week. Some surprising results. Speaking of Florida, if you told me in the middle of the summer that Miami and the Jaguars would be in first place this deep into the season, I would have told you you were on drugs. Some surprising results last weekend, some other things. We were just talking before we came on the air, and I wanted to get into this with you because it was one of the big things on Skip and Shannon in the morning. They were debating whether Mahomes or Brady it would be the best quarterback this weekend. And of course, Shannon is on the Mahomes side, and Skip is on the Brady side. And Skip came off as such an apologist. And one of the big things I came from anything that his argument for Brady is Brady, like Aaron Rodgers at this point, and more Brady than Rodgers, needs very good to star receivers to be very good. It used to be Brady used to be able to take a Chris Hogan. He used to be, if you look at his New England days, take away Randy Moss and take away Gronkowski, none of the other guys were Hall of Famers. He kind of made them into good, solid wide receivers.
They had Troy Brown, out there dominating. David Givens. These names that Deion Branch. I mean, these guys that no one's ever even heard of.
Right.
They were able to win with because they always had a good run game. Corey Dillon. Whoever the hell it was back there running the football.
And a good line.
Good offensive line, always serviceable, and then always an unbelievable defense with Hall of Famers all over it.
Right, and he also got rid of the ball quickly, and he got away with it. But now he needs, because he's 45 years old, damn it. He's 45 years old. He's not the quarterback he was 4 years ago. It happens. Father Time is starting to catch up with him. Face facts. I mean, the first 3 games of the year, they won because of their defense. Or two times they won because of defense, and they almost pulled it out. But then again, at the end of the game, it was his clock management that cost him the game.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell, when his all-pro wideouts, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, are out there, the Bucs offense rolls along pretty well, but you take one of them or both of them off the field, and it's a sharp, drastic decline. And that's with anybody. Yeah. But I'm just saying these guys that are like, oh, he's a machine and all this. I don't really understand that because he was very smart, and I'll give him a lot of credit because he took his time. He picked the right squad to go to. I mean, they've got, in my opinion, the best defense in all of football And, what an addition. I know this is kind of off topic, but what an addition, adding the guy that nobody else really wanted in the defensive back who was on your Giants before. And then he finds himself in Tampa in Logan Ryan.
Yeah.
And he's just making play after play after play, like he did when he was with the Patriots. And I think he gets no respect. But if you watch that game the other day against the Packers, I mean, Logan Ryan was at times the best player on the field.
Very smart player. And I trace that back to Belichick. Belichick creates very smart defensive backs. They just come out of his coach's teaching, and they're smarter than most guys. You watch most of the guys that have been back there for years. I mean, there's been a litany of guys. Some were great, like Ty Law, but for the most part, I mean, most of them were interchangeable, and they all knew how to play the run. They knew how to play the pass. They knew how to play in any defense, and it shows. They're always prepared to go. So, yeah, I definitely agree that Tampa Bay. Now, that game, which everybody was building it up to be the last meeting, maybe, of Brady and Rodgers, technically the two quarterbacks, basically, Rodgers got out quick. Brady finished with a flourish. It was kind of a disappointing game.
Yeah, both offenses struggled. The thing that really, stood out to me was, Aaron Jones, 12 carries, 36 yards. A.J. Dillon, 12 carries, 32 yards. Leonard Fournette, 12 carries, 35 yards. Both teams' rush defense were phenomenal. And I think that, people are kind of sleeping a little bit on the Green Bay defense. I mean, Devondre Campbell had 14 tackles, 8 solo, a tackle for loss, and then he knocked down the 2-point conversion that could have tied the game. That guy has been a monster ever since arriving in Green Bay. And then, the rookie Quay Walker started to play. Kenny Clark is one of the best defensive linemen in the entire NFL, and he never gets any credit. He had 2 sacks. He had 2 other QB hits. I mean, the guy was all over the field. Rashawn Gary has finally started to live up to the hype. Adrian Amos is pretty solid. That defense over there in Green Bay is really, really impressing me thus far.
All right, well, so let's go back to last Thursday night, the Browns.
Yeah. That's the game I wanted to talk about first.
Yeah, I mean,
that was right after we got off the air.
Yeah.
And wow, that was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, take it from here. I mean, Trubisky, I don't know how long he's going to be the starting quarterback.
I think they need to make the move now. What are you getting with him? I don't know. I mean, the receivers are obviously frustrated. You've got Deontay Johnson, you've got Pat Freiermuth, you've got George Pickens, you got Chase Claypool, and you got a guy that can't get him the ball. This goes back to what me and you talked about last year. We didn't understand, after the season, there was all this talk about all these teams that wanted Mitch Trubisky's services. And I'm like, what happened? Because he sucked in Chicago. They got rid of him after drafted him 2nd overall and trading up to get him. They just let him walk. And then a year of sitting on the bench on the Bills all of a sudden made him good. I just didn't understand it. And, I think it's time to go to Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett looked really good to me in the, in the preseason, and there may be some growing pains with him, but why not? You're already 1-2. Put Kenny Pickett in there and maybe have a rough game or two and then have a chance to save your season. But I got to give a lot of credit to Jacoby Brissette. He played an amazing game, and he made some monster throws throughout this game, and really honestly surprised me. I didn't think he could play that well against, I know Pittsburgh's missing their best defensive player, but still they got some dogs out there, and Jacoby Brissette just, played with some serious passion and really made some unbelievable throws to cause the Browns to win that game.
I think Amari Cooper also has something to prove.
Yeah, I think he was kind of pissed that the Cowboys let him walk after all he did there, and 7 catches, over 100 yards, 14.4 yards per catch. That was pretty nice. And he's one of the best route runners in the league. But, some people have been saying, why did they pay David Njoku? Well, if you watch the game Thursday night, that's why. 9 catches, 89 yards, a touchdown.
I've always liked that kid. I always thought
Good.
if they gave him a chance and they gave him some targets, I mean, he's got great size. He seems to have pretty good hands. Not the greatest hands in the world, but not Evan Ingram hands. I mean, I don't know why they didn't use him more before.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to go back to Trubisky, the only thing that ever made sense for me, and you may call me crazy with this, I would have wanted to see if he wanted the place that made sense for him to me was the Giants as a backup to Daniel Jones for now. But both of them as a placeholder was going to be for the next Giant quarterback. But at least then he would have been with Brian Dable, who knew all his warts. Going to a team that's never had him before made no sense to me at all. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against the guy, but it's just he looks the same to me that he looked in Chicago. And I was like, I guess the only person that didn't really understand how his value increased from not playing for a year. I
didn't understand it. He threw 4 passes and he got a huge contract out of it. God bless him. I don't know how he did it, but he got it.
Hey, good for him, man. I mean, I'm all for these guys making some money, but I didn't understand why the Steelers were going to invest their season with this guy. That made no sense to me, especially when you take a quarterback in the first round. I get it. He wasn't the top 5 pick, but you still drafted him in the first round. And, he looked great to me when he got a chance in preseason. So I don't understand what they're waiting for.
And the Browns are kind of a surprising 2-1, maybe not so much surprising 2-1, but a nice step out of the gate for them without Deshaun Watson. So there they are, and the Steelers have to make their choice. Then we'll go to the Colts and Chiefs. This is a game I watched. I was over at a friend's house as a Chiefs fan, so I had to watch that. Strange game, very strange game. But the more I watched it, the more I said, man, the Chiefs are letting these guys stick around. Because, I mean, early in the game, the Colts looked like, I was saying to my friend, I mean, this guy, I said, the way it looked early in the game, I said, if Frank Reich makes it to Monday as the coach of the Colts, I'd be surprised because his team did not look prepared or anything for it. And then all of a sudden, the Chiefs just kept letting them stay there. And they were able to come back and win.
Yeah, it was a very strange game. I agree with you. My biggest takeaways from this one was, I'd be happy with if I'm a Chiefs fan or, a person on the Chiefs because their defense looks pretty good to me. They pretty much held the Colts offense in check, making them settle for field goals instead of touchdowns, especially in the second quarter and the third quarter. But what concerns me about the Chiefs is they're struggling mightily to run the ball. I don't know if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is banged up. I'm not sure. He had 7 carries for 0 yards. I don't know what that means, but he looked rough to me. And I think Jerick McKinnon had like 7 carries for 20 yards. So when your top 2 running backs have 14 carries for 20 yards, that concerns me. I mean, anytime you're one-dimensional in this league, that allows defensive coordinators to, scheme based on, that and just worry about the pass because you can't run it. So that troubles me.
But that's always been the complaint of the Andy Reid naysayers, that he gives up on the running game too soon. That he likes his passing game, he trusts his passing game totally, and his trick plays, and that he will, if he's not having good success with the running game, he will give up on it too soon. So we'll see what happens next week. But it could have just been a Andy Reid brain, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's funny at the end of the first half when Bieniemy and Mahomes supposedly got into it about how they ended the first half. Mahomes wanted to go for it, and Bieniemy wanted them to sit on it. I guess I don't know what went on there. You'll never know the whole of it. But in the end, the Chiefs fall for the first time in a game I think they pretty much should have won.
Yeah.
So they're 2-1 now. They're still in it. So still in a good spot. So it's not tragic, but not magic either. Bears beat the Texans. Not a whole lot to talk about. 23-20. Somehow the Texans stay in these games somehow, but they do just enough to lose. Panthers take advantage, and McCaffrey comes alive a little bit, and they get a 22-14 victory over the Saints. James Winston is hurt. It looks like they're getting reports from over in London that he hasn't been practicing for 2 days. That doesn't always mean a lot of stuff. But should they put the old red rocket tier in there for a couple of weeks and the back's not going to get better this year, but maybe with a few weeks it'll work things out. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think that, if last year taught us anything, you sit this guy. I mean, he's hurt. We saw what happened in Cleveland last year when they have a pretty serviceable backup, they just kept playing Baker Mayfield, and it never really worked out. So I don't understand why you don't you paid all this money for Andy Dalton. You brought him in when other teams were trying to sign him. You paid him a pretty good amount of money. If you're paying these backups all this cash, why don't you play him when your starter's hurt? I don't get the point in playing your starter when he's injured. I really don't understand it. And he's obviously not right. This offense is not looking like it should. I mean, he still threw for 353 yards, but that was mainly because, he was having to throw when they were down. And I don't understand it. He's throwing interceptions. He threw 2 more. I mean, I think this would be a good point to sit him down and get him healthy at least, or as healthy as possible for the run.
And he's resurrected Taysom Hill packages to give Dalton some, time off, or take it out so he won't be just him standing back in the pocket. Made people worry about that, and also because Kamara's beat up too with his ribs, so. You don't know what you're going to be able to hit.
I don't know what's going on with Taysom Hill. He hasn't really played a ton. I mean, he had no catches last week. I don't know if he played at all. I don't understand why he went from like their, do it all Swiss Army knife everything to like not even being in the offensive plane anymore. I'm a little bit confused about that, but I would use him. I would use Dalton. I would use whatever I could to get by until Jameis was feeling better, because this doesn't look like the Jameis from last year.
No, not at all. Then we'll go out to Titans, get off the snide at the expense of the Raiders. And now, oh my God, Josh McDaniel, you can't get off to a worse start. 0-3. I mean, he lost, in 2 division games, and he lost to the Titans, who were due to have a good, but I mean, my God. I mean, you got Devontae Adams sitting out there going, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think Devontae's calling the Packers and asking if he can come back, because it's not looking good for them. The thing is, they're not getting blown out. I mean, they've been in every game. There's just been some, the fumbles, 2 weeks ago. And then in this game, they just kind of got down. I mean, their defense played great in the second half. They shut out the Titans. They scored 12 points in the second half to cut it to a 2-point lead, but just couldn't, for whatever reason. There's some clock management issues and just things going on. All we heard all offseason was how, he'd learned from all of his time in Denver, and he'd learned to not make the same mistakes, and it seems like he's making a lot of the same mistakes. So that would concern me. But I did love seeing Derrick Henry really have a great game. I mean, the numbers aren't staggering, but he was dominant in the first half, and basically put the 24 points on his shoulders. He had 5 catches for 60 yards in the first half, and had almost 70 yards rushing in the first half and a touchdown. He looked really good. And I was happy to see the Titans finally get a win.
And they need to get him back on track. And then, speaking of getting back on track, the Bengals, I mean, Joe Burrow just blasted the Jets. I mean, we saw Joe Flacco left his game in Cleveland because he just didn't have time. And I mean, Cincinnati looked like they maybe got back on track a little bit, but it is the Jets, and we'll see a better game tonight because we got them going to get 3-0 Miami in about 40 minutes. So that should be a very good game tonight. But at least the Bengals come in here with a little confidence, a little swag back, a little bit of swagger is back, and we'll see what they can do tonight. Especially, and we're going to get to Miami in a minute. But what did you think about the? How do you grade the Bengal win over the Jets? Is it something a building block, or is it just, man, the Jets went back to sucking?
Well, the Jets just, I mean, they are so wrecked on the offensive line. I mean, you got Mekhi Becton on injured reserve. You got George Fant on injured reserve. You brought in Dwayne Brown to replace those two guys. He's on injured reserve. So their offensive line is a mess. And as you said, Joe Flacco had no time to do anything back there. So I think that's the biggest issue with them. And we really didn't expect a ton out of these Jets this year. Last week was kind of an aberration, I think. But, the Bengals needed this win. But the Bengals are dealing with some injuries themselves. I'm concerned about, Joe Mixon can only run for 2 yards a carry against the Jets defense. That concerns me big time because they need him to take over games like he did last year. And then also, the Bengals have some serious injuries, in my opinion, on their defensive line. I mean, DJ Reader is a monster. And having him on injured reserve is a big problem for them. I just feel like there's a huge drop-off between DJ Reader and the rest of the guys they have on their interior defensive line. So I'm interested to see how they look tonight and how the Bengals look going against a team that's, the darlings of the NFL right now.
And speaking of those darlings, we're going to get into them. Now, we had the butt fumble years ago. Now we got the butt punt. One of the weirder plays, and I mean, as everybody who broke it down says, if you are the personal protector of the punter, you don't move back towards the punter, especially in the end zone. No. So it was a mistake there, but it worked out in the end for them. Josh Allen throwing the ball 63 times. 63 times. That is just too much for anybody. I mean, that's 20 more than I think is probably acceptable in a normal game.
Yeah, well, he threw it 63 times, and then he was the leading rusher also. So this is the same problem that we've seen for the last 3 or 4 years. They just don't have a dominant running back that can take some of the load off of him. I mean, he's got to throw it 63 times, and then he's got to also lead the team in rushing. I mean, this guy needs some help, and they're not, he's not going to get it if they don't figure out a way to get some running game going. But that offensive line struggled in this game big time. I mean, they gave up 4 sacks and then, struggled to run the ball. I mean, without Josh Allen's 50 yards, they would have ran for about 50 yards because they only ran for a total of 115. So that concerns me, but I'm really not 100% concerned about the Bills. I mean, they did lose this game, but, they lost by 2 points. They had a chance to win at the end, but, it just didn't go their way. But I'm still pretty high on the Bills, and I'm not going to take too much away from him from this one loss.
No, I'm not either, but I'll tell you, it's 2 really huge wins for Miami early in the season. To beat the Patriots, division wins, huge to get early in the season.
Well, yeah, and then the 21-point comeback against the Ravens was huge too. But I'm trying to figure out how, we've got all these protocols in place for player safety, and you're not allowed to tackle anybody anymore. But this guy, Tua, gets popped, goes down, and then stands up and falls over, and somehow he's allowed to come back in the game. That really, I thought, was interesting. And, they're doing an investigation on it. But, that I thought the whole point of all those checks and balances was to prevent a player like that from going back in. But here's a team that, is trying to win a game, and all that shit goes out the window. So,
yeah, I think there's ways around the protocol until there's a tragedy.
Yeah.
As usual.
Well, there's been a lot of tragedies, in case you haven't been watching. There's a lot of these guys walking around that don't know what their damn name is.
I know that, but I mean, at the time it's happening, it goes out the window with these people.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying there's, some of these guys are shooting themselves in the chest and, having to write themselves notes about what their name is and put it in their wallet. And,
Yeah.
I thought the whole point was to try and prevent that. And then you have a guy that obviously gets a head injury and he goes right back in the game. I don't understand that. And then all of a sudden it's a back injury, not a head injury. I'm like,
Yeah.
I may be an idiot, but he got hit in the head. So.
Lloyd, now Miami's won how many straight now going back to last year?
11.
Yeah. Okay. So Flores was fired. I'm not saying this new guy isn't doing a good job, but I mean, he had some building blocks left behind by Flores.
He did.
We're going to skip over the Eagles and Commanders because that was just a joke. We'll get back to the Eagles later. And right now, they've got to.
Can I ask one question, though? Can I ask one
ahead.
question? Is this it for Carson Wentz? I mean, is he going to go to another team next year, too, and get another shot? Because, he keeps sucking up the place. He got sacked 9 times, on Sunday.
I watched, I don't want to say it, but I watched Jeff George for years go around the NFL. There's some quarterback, we've seen it with Sam Darnold. There's some quarterbacks that some offensive coordinator or some head coach falls in love with, and they just think, I can change him. No matter how long, no matter how much the history says. Right now we're watching it go on. Hopefully, if the Giants have to pull the plug, we're going to talk about the Giants later, so let's not get into it. But I mean, some people will fall in love with these guys. I know. Carson Wentz is not going to. The Washington right now is the worst team in their division by far. So.
Well, yeah, and also from that game, I mean, I seem to remember somebody who is on this show who mentioned something last year about the quarterback of the Eagles team being pretty damn good. I can't remember who it was.
I agreed with you.
I know you did, but I'm just saying that I took a lot of heat for backing him and saying that he's a winner and saying that he's going to get better and saying that he could throw it when everyone else told me he couldn't throw it. And I said, oh, he can throw it. I watched him throw it in college. He can throw it. And everybody told me I was an idiot. And then on Sunday, he threw for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks, 123.5 rating. He looks pretty damn good to me. And as a matter of fact, right now, if I had to pick the MVP of the NFL, Jalen Hurts would be my pick. And I'm not just saying that because
your other Miami and Lamar Jackson. So,
or my other guy, Lamar. I would pick one of those two guys. 1A, 1B.
As I always said about Hurts, is the fact of the matter is he plays for 60 minutes. He could be shitty for the first 49, and he'll beat you in the last 11. I mean, the guy is just that's the way he plays football. It's not about stats; it's about winning.
He wants to win.
He's a class man. So
he's a winner, and he also is a hard worker. And in the offseason, he went out to California, worked with a couple of different quarterback trainers, changed his throwing motion, and really, really fixed a lot of his issues. And you're seeing that on the field. So I'm very impressed, but I also am not surprised because I said this was going to fucking happen. So I'm not surprised at all.
And then next game quickly, the Lions and the Vikings. Vikings ended up winning. The Lions, again, played a tight game but couldn't come up with enough to win. I think that's kind of going to be the reason they're going to move off of Jared Goff at some point. You need somebody who can win these type of games. Unfortunately, Jared doesn't seem to have that in his bag of tricks, or it's not a club he has in his golf bag. But the big thing here is Cook, again, getting beat up early. He's going to play, I guess, in London. I saw a funny tweet today where someone said, I knew it was Wednesday because Christian McCaffrey didn't practice. And I was like, well, probably Dalvin Cook too. So, I mean, the Vikings right now in it, but we're going to have to see over the next 4, 5, 6 weeks if they can be the non-Zimmer Vikings or if they're still the same team that Zimmer had.
Yeah, I mean, so far they've looked all right, except for that Eagles game. I don't know what exactly was going on in that Eagles game. I don't know if the Eagles are just that good or that was just a terrible game by the Vikings, but that was just a no-show. But week one, they took care of the Packers and beat them down pretty well, 23-7, and then last Sunday they got down and didn't quit and came back and ended up winning the game against the Lions when they easily could have, given up. So I'm going to give them credit. That's a game I think last year they don't win under Zimmer. Nothing against him personally, but I'm just saying, looking back on it, that's a game they don't finish and come away with. So I think 2-1 right now. The Vikings are ahead of schedule. They got the Saints this week and then the Bears. So there's 2 games to kind of hopefully, for their sake, win and get to 4-1, and then they'll play the Dolphins, and we'll really see where they're at.
And then we had the Ravens, who just destroyed the Pats right now. First of all, Lamar just took over the game by himself. He was unstoppable, especially with his legs. And then Mac Jones now. Mac Jones, you're probably looking 6-8 weeks at best case scenario.
Yeah, I think he's pretty banged up, and let's be honest, he wasn't really good in this game before.
3 interceptions.
3 interceptions, and just not really clicking on offense. And I don't know whether or not this was Baltimore's defense stepping up and playing better, or if this was just Mac Jones playing bad. But this is the problem, because now you're going to be trotting out 57-year-old Brian Hoyer against their next opponent, and that doesn't bode well, especially since the Patriots are playing the Packers. So, I hope Brian Hoyer's got some touchdowns in him, because the Packers are going to be potentially scoring some points on them.
All right, and then we have the Jaguars, a surprising 2-1, but I mean, they did beat up on the Colts. The Chargers right now are a team that is just a mess with injuries. I mean, I don't know. There's another thing with a quarterback. Should he be playing? Should he not be playing?
No. The answer is no. I mean, this guy is your franchise quarterback. He is the cornerstone of your team, and he's not right. I mean, we've seen him. He had to get shot up to even play in this game. I don't understand why you're leaving him out there to being susceptible to additional injury. And I got to be honest, this game shocked me. I thought that even with the injuries that the Chargers are facing, I thought that they would have kicked the crap out of the lowly Jaguars. But Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 pick overall for a reason. This guy was the highest rated college football quarterback to come out since Andrew Luck, and maybe even before that. So there's a reason for that. And let's be honest, everybody wants to say, oh, it's because Bourbon Urban's gone. Well, he also has some team around him now. Travis Etienne is back there. He's got, Evan Ingram's not our favorite guy, but he's on the team. He's got Marvin Jones is back healthy. They picked up Christian Kirk, who had 6 catches, 74 yards and a touchdown. They picked up Zay Jones as a free agent from the Raiders. So he's actually got a team around him. And also that defense is a lot better. Devin Lloyd, their draft pick, who came out of Utah, was unbelievable in this game. And Orty has I think he got an interception, and Orty has that going for him. And then also, they got the number 1 pick in the draft, Trayvon Walker, who's looking pretty good. So yeah, I mean, they do have more talent on the field, but I'm not sure I'm believing this yet. We'll see what happens, but I think the Chargers are just reeling a little bit.
But I like for Trevor Lawrence. I like Trevor Lawrence. And I like the fact that these are the kind of building block victories he needs.
Yep.
It's all about confidence. It's all about figuring out. We know he's got the talent.
Yep.
It's for him to get out there and trust the talent.
Yeah.
As I remember listening to Archie Manning talking about Peyton calling him when he first went to the Colts, and he goes, "Dad, no one's open." It's like They're open, Peyton. You just got to throw it to them when they're open. You got to figure out when they're going to be open and throw it and trust yourself. And that's what the young quarterback has to understand. Trust the pattern. Trust the fact that your receiver is going to get separation. Throw it. Don't wait. Look. He's open. Now throw it. Then it's too late.
Yeah, that's true. And, the Chargers are in big trouble because Rashawn Slater, their left tackle, he's hurt. He's done for the year. Their swing tackle, Andrew Traynor, is on injured reserve. He's hurt. Their starting center, Corey Linsley, is banged up. Their backup center, Isaac Weaver's hurt. Joey Bosa's on injured reserve. He's out for a while. J.C. Jackson is still hurt. They've got some pretty serious injuries at important positions. Keenan Allen missed the game. He didn't play. Who knows how long he'll be out. So they've got some big time injuries mounting up in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and it's not going to be easy for them to get well, especially in that division. So that kind of opens up the door for the Denver Broncos, but we'll get to them in a few minutes. The Rams took care of the Cardinals. I don't know about this Cardinal team, what to believe. It seems that, I guess Vegas was that bad the week before because, the Rams, who aren't really healthy totally themselves and aren't hitting on all cylinders, just a nice victory, 12 by 8 points. They took care of it.
Yeah, and let's be honest. Without that complete collapse by the Raiders last week, the Cardinals would be 0-3. So I guess it's a good thing that Hunter Renfrow fumbled it twice in the overtime there in fourth quarter, or else the Cardinals would be 0-3 after paying this guy $250 million.
And then a good day for Cordell Patterson. The Falcons beat the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks had their moment of glory. Geno Smith, I think he's showing that he's Geno Smith again. And, that's what the Seahawks, we see what we got right now.
Yeah, I agree. But, Marcus Mariota is playing pretty well. He's keeping the Falcons in every game. I know they're 1-2, but they've surprised me and impressed me. The problem is that now Cordell Patterson's banged up, and they really have nobody, in my opinion, behind him. And I don't know when he became a tailback, but it was about 2 years ago they started just handing it to. Actually, 3 years ago when he was in Oakland, they started handing him the ball because they couldn't throw it to him. And now, he's basically a full-time running back and had 17 carries for 141 yards. But now he's hurt, and he's questionable for this week, and that could spell trouble for the Falcons.
Yeah, but again, the Falcons, they're playing with house money right now. Like you said, Mario is playing better than they could. There's really not any expectations on them or the coaching staff. So if it's let Patterson stay a week on the bench, maybe 2 weeks, get healthy, come back. It's all about building for the future with the Falcons. So the thing is to protect him for the long haul at the end of the season right now. So that's how I feel about it.
No, their checkbook opens up next year. They've still got a lot of guys that aren't even on the team that are collecting checks. Matt Ryan, one of them, who's since moved on, but they've got a lot of dead money, and they're going to have a lot of cash next year to spend, and hopefully they'll be able to replenish that roster.
And then we have the Niners against the Broncos, the game that makes Dan Orlovsky feel better about his career as Jimmy Garoppolo stepped out of the end zone. The one thing, and I hate trying to, I felt sorry for Jimmy Garoppolo and Baker Mayfield throughout the whole offseason. But in this game, at this time, I put a lot of this on the 49ers administration. While that man was in camp, they were not using him and getting him ready. I know they thought they were going to deal him, but they should have been thinking, we may need this guy.
Well, yeah, everyone's ripping on him, and he didn't play well. He looked bad. No. There's no doubt. But like you just said, he didn't practice all offseason, even when he was healed up and the shoulder was good enough for him to start throwing. He was off to the side, basically working out on his own instead of
with a ball boy.
Yeah, with the ball boy instead of playing with the team. So, it didn't surprise me at all that he was a little bit off and struggled in this game. And let's be honest, the Denver defense is very good. Right. So you put together all those things, a good defense, a completely missing offseason for Jimmy G. And
don't have your best running back.
Well, yeah, and then they have no running backs. All their running backs are have been moved off the team or they're on injured reserve. So they kind of got Jeff Wilson or nobody. And honestly, out of the group of running backs that they've used the last 2 or 3 years, Jeff Wilson was probably the worst one.
Trey Sermon was good timing giving up Trey Sermon, right? After 1 year.
Why did you ship him off and let him go when you've got nobody else? And then
John Lynch is a genius, I tell you. He's a genius.
He's an idiot. And, they drafted Tyrion Davis-Price. He's been hurt all year long. And, the running back from last year, the kid out of Louisiana, he's hurt too. So now they've got Jeff Wilson and nobody. I don't understand why they don't play Marlon Mack too, because I thought they picked him up, but I haven't seen him. So I'm not sure what the hell they're doing. But
he's probably working out with the ball boy.
He's probably running on the side. So when he goes out in the game next week, he'll have no idea what the plays are because I don't know. I don't know what they're doing up there, but it's like they're trying to screw this team up, and they're doing a pretty good job so far.
And then we had the Giants on Monday night. I expected this is what's been happening with the Giants for the last decade against the Cowboys. They play well enough, and then the Cowboys coming down in the end and win. When I saw Saquon Barkley, running in the end zone, I'm like, well, that's good, but I don't. There's too much time on the clock. The thing that come out of this game, first of all, Daniel Jones. He's doing a lot with his legs, but they have no outside talent. There's nobody to throw the ball to. There's no tight end. I mean, the Giants, you might as well play wishbone.
Their receiving core is just absolute horrible garbage. You pay $70 million for Kenny Golladay, and
targeted him twice.
Yeah, he can't even catch the ball. They finally put him out there, even though he's just bitching instead of just going out there and proving himself. He just stands on the sideline and bitches. He finally gets in the game. He runs a good route. He's wide open. Daniel Jones throws him the ball and he drops it. And it's like, what the hell are we paying this guy for? And then you got Sterling Shepard now. He's going to be done for the year. Kadarius Toney, he's always hurt, but I can't figure out how he gets hurt when he doesn't ever play.
Thank you.
He never plays, but he's always injured. And I'm like, what is he like running track meets after practice? Because he never practices, he never plays, but he's always banged up. And then can somebody find Darius Slayton? Because I thought he was on this team, but I can never really find him. So we may want to put an APB out on his vehicle because I don't know where he's at.
Then you had Boomer Esiason come up with the. It makes sense for the poor Saquon Barkley. Trade him to the Bills. At least it would help the Bills. But if you trade Saquon Barkley, you might as well, just put it in, hopefully put a red vest on Daniel Jones because he's going to get sacked on every play.
Yeah, I mean they've invested 2 top 10 picks on Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal, and their quarterback still gets sacked 5 to 7 times per game. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? I mean, I like you said, how many times is this losing to Dallas? I think they've lost like 10 of 11.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing to
it's going back to when I was a little kid. Dallas with Roger Staubach used to beat the Giants every year. Twice.
It's embarrassing. And they don't even have Dak Prescott. They've got some Central Michigan quarterback who's out there, throwing 15-yard passes and beating them up. And honestly, Dallas ran the ball pretty good on them. I mean,
they didn't even have Dalton Schultz. They didn't have their best tight end. I mean,
and they're missing half their wide receivers. I mean, Noah Brown is like wide receiver 2, and he's been a special teams player for his entire career. I mean, Peyton Hendershot was out there making grabs, and that guy played for Indiana in college. So, Jesus. I don't know.
And Thibodeau was a phantom.
Oh, he sucks. I told you that guy was going to be garbage. I mean, he's looked like Tarzan, played like Jane. I mean, the guy's got all the athletic talent in the world, but when he gets on the field for whatever reason, he's just basically a no-show, and then he gets hurt. So good luck with him.
Workout warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we got the Bears coming up this week. Maybe they can get back on track, or maybe they can't. This is a game they should win.
Yeah. Oh, they should definitely win. If they lose this game, they're in big trouble.
Right. Then we're playing for draft choices.
Yep.
All right. So that gets us through last week, and quickly the games of this week we're interested in: Bengals, Dolphins tonight. There.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you? Yeah,
Okay.
Bengals Dolphins tonight definitely is a big game. I mean, I'm very interested to see if the Bengals can come close on this one. I don't know. I'm worried about the Bengals 1-2, and the offensive line is supposed to be improved, and it's looked horrible. They can't run the ball. They can't protect Joe Burrow. We'll see how long he lasts. And then, like I mentioned to you, DJ Reader is a huge loss, and there's just really no replacement for him on the roster. So that concerns me. But we'll see what Tua looks like. I mean, there's supposedly he's going to play, but he looked pretty banged up to me at the end of that game.
Yeah, and then we got the Titans and the Colts. These are two teams came up with their first victories last week. Both of them, I don't want to say questionable, but we'll see how good they are. What do you think about this game? Because they've got to get back on track with the Jags as number one team in that division so far.
Yeah, I mean, this game right here is huge. I know it's still early in the season. I understand this is only week 4, but both these teams have underperformed in a big way, in my opinion, so far. I know the Colts got a big win last week, but they're still 1-1-1, and they played some crap teams so far, so that's not good. Jonathan Taylor missed his first ever practice in his career this week, so I don't know if that's going to play a factor in this game, but the Colts usually play pretty well at home. And the Titans are, still reeling from that 2-point victory over the Raiders. So I think this is a big game, and I'm interested to see what happens. That's for sure.
Bills Ravens, big game down in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge. Huge game. I think that Lamar is going to show us something here, man. I mean, the guys ran 26 carries for 243 yards so far, and we're going to see if this Ravens defense can actually stop somebody. I have no questions about Lamar playing well. My only concern is this Ravens defense. They played a little bit better last week, but this Bills team's a whole nother animal.
Well, Lamar said either today or yesterday, he said, I bet on myself for my contract this year, and so far he's coming up aces, I'll tell you that much. The funny game, we got former Heisman winners from Oklahoma, both with 1-2, matching up down in Carolina with Baker against can't even think of his name right now.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray. So it would look like this should be a Kyler Murray bowl, but and again, McCaffrey's beat up. We don't know if he's going to be playing. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, this game's got it all, man. I mean, you got 1-2 teams. You've got the two of the worst teams in the league on third down. This is going to be interesting. I don't know if I really want to watch this, but somebody's going to have to. This is a game where I think, hopefully Baker can really start to play. I mean, he hasn't been great so far. I've got to be honest. I like him. I support that guy, but I really wanted him to do well in Carolina. But he looks like a guy to me that's been on the team for like 2 months, because he has. So yeah. I think it would have behooved him mightily to have gotten traded like 6 months ago, because he looks like he just joined this team because he's just not really comfortable in this offense. And, that's kind of to be expected, I guess.
And then the last one we'll talk about, we got the Tampa Bay Chiefs game. And before we'll do the Monday night as well, but Kansas City and Kansas City in the Tampa Bay game. I think that Tampa Bay is going to get their comeuppance in this one. I just think Kansas City, especially coming off the victory where they were PO'd, and I think Patrick Mahomes is PO'd. And
I mean, I think it's going to be a wake-up call for them. And then also, as we were talking about the Chargers, the Buccaneers are banged up too, man. I mean, Donovan Smith's hurt, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Brashad Perriman, Russell Gage, Ryan Jensen's obviously on IR, Aaron Stinney. They're banged up. Akeem Hicks is going to be out. So the defense should still be good, but I think that this might be a game where the Chiefs get right.
I totally agree with you. Then we got the Rams and the Niners on Monday night. Now this, over the past few years, it was Jimmy Garoppolo had the Maloik on the Rams, but this is like we talked about, Jimmy G. Unless he's thrown to that ball boy, I don't know if he'll connect. So I have a feeling the Rams are going to put kind of a hurt, and they're looking for revenge. They're looking for a statement game, and this would be a big one for them.
Yeah, I got to imagine that the Rams are going to win this game. I just didn't like what I saw out of the Niners. I mean, the whole thing with the Niners offense is it's predicated on running the football, and they haven't been able to run the football. So it's their rollouts, their play action, their whole scheme gets thrown off if they can't run the ball, and they don't really have any good running backs, and they're not blocking as well as they should because a lot of times they know they're going to try and run it. So I got to imagine that this game's got Rams victory looking all over it.
All right, let's go to our top tens for the week. You want to do your top 10 first, and I'll do my top 10.
All right. Where do you want me to start? Number 1 or number 10?
Start at number 1.
All right, I'm going to go. I'm still riding the Bills bandwagon. I know they lost. I know that they lost by 2 points, but I still got them as my number 1 team. And, people may disagree with me because they lost, but this is the NFL. You're not going to go 17-0. And maybe this loss is just what the Bills needed. So I've got them number 1. I've got the Eagles number 2. I think they're playing unbelievable football right now. Jalen Hurts, like I said, could be potentially the MVP of this league right now. And their defense is playing well. So I like the Eagles, and I've got the Dolphins 3. Love them or hate them, they are playing pretty well. I'm interested to see what they look like tonight, coming off a short week. See if they can recover from that Bills game. That's a big thing. Everybody loves the Thursday night game because it's more football. It gives us another day to watch football. But these coaches and these players, they hate this Thursday night crap. They absolutely hate it. I mean, some of these teams were playing, 4 or 5 days ago, and haven't even
4 o'clock game.
Yeah, and they haven't even healed up yet. So I think that could spell trouble for the Dolphins. But the way they've played so far, you got to have them up near the top. So I've got them number 3. I've still got the Chiefs number 4. I've got the Ravens 5, Packers 6, Bucks 7, Rams 8, Cowboys 9, and the Browns 10 right now.
What was the 9 and 10?
Cowboys 9 and the Browns 10.
All right. I got my switches are. I got Philly as number 1. Right now undefeated. They're playing. They're playing the best right now. So I'm giving number 1. I'm going number 2 with the Dolphins just because they're undefeated. I got to give them something there, and the fact they've won 11 straight. I don't know if that's a coincidence or what, but the offense wrapped up with the defense of last year has me kind of thinking they might be something special. Maybe I don't know if they'll get in front of Buffalo, but right now they're looking like a strong number 2. Number 3 is Baltimore. I'm going with the Ravens, number 3. Lamar is just, he's a man on a mission. And number 4, I'm giving Buffalo because, like you said, I mean, it's all about Josh Allen, and he's got to get some kind of help there. Number 5, I got KC. Number 6, I got Tampa Bay, and I got Tampa Bay on the downward here because I don't like their offense. I love their defense. I don't like their offense. Number 7, I got the Rams, and I like the Rams are on a way up, I think. Green Bay's at number 8. Dallas, I put them up number 9 because of their defense. This is the first time.
That's where I've got them too.
Yeah, this is the first time I've really talked about the Dallas defense being their strength since maybe, I don't know, Jimmy Johnson days?
Yeah, Ken Norton. Ken Norton was running shit, and Charles Haley was sacking the quarterback, and Dion was picking off passes. Yeah, me too. But this is a whole new world with an actual defensive coordinator and impact players.
And my number 10 is Minnesota right now. I'm putting Minnesota number 10. I don't really believe in them, but I looked at everybody else and I said, well, right now, I'll go with them. But those are my number 10s. The bottom ones, I'll give you my bottom ones right now. It's 3 teams: Houston, Vegas, and Seattle.
Yeah, that's what I've got as well. I wanted to keep the Jaguars down there, but they've won some games, and honestly, you got to give them credit for that. But I also have the Jets down there in the bottom of mine. I've got New York Jets down at the bottom. I know they've won a game; they're 1-2, but I don't expect them to win much more, especially with the change coming at quarterback. Not that Joe Flacco's great, but I don't know what Zach Wilson's going to do to change this.
I don't think you're far off there. So they may make my bottom 3 next week. My players of the week, I'll give you mine. Number 1, I got Lamar. Number 2, Jalen. And number 3, I gave it to 2 people. I gave it to Cordell Patterson and Christian McCaffrey. Both of them came up big and helped their teams win with over 100 yards rushing. And it might also be the last time we see both of them this year.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I had the same. I had Jalen again. I had Lamar again, which I've had twice. And then I had to go out and kind of give some sort of credit to the Cowboys defense, man. I mean, I've been really blown away by how well they've played. And I've got to give credit to DeMarcus Lawrence. He's been kind of a no-show since he got his money, but he was not a no-show on Sunday night. This guy was until he got a little bit banged up towards the end of the game, he was a game wrecker. Finished with 6 solo tackles. He had 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. DeMarcus Lawrence was my third player of the week.
Well, I gave it to a Dallas Cowboy defender last week, so there we go.
Yeah, well, Micah Parsons is, opening things up for a lot of these guys.
All right, let's think of our picks of the week because we want to get to our game. Go ahead, give me your picks of the week.
Yeah, well, I already told you one. I've got the Rams over San Francisco. I just think the 49ers are shooting themselves in the head with the way they've been, handling this whole thing. So I've got the Rams. The 49ers are actually favored by 1.5. So I'm taking the Rams in that one. The Chiefs and the Bucks are even. I feel like the Chiefs are going to get off the, proverbial seat that they were in last week. I've got them winning that game. And then I'm taking the Vikings over the Saints.
Yeah, I was looking really hard at that Niners-Rams game, and I was going to go the way you were going to go, just because it's due. I mean, and also because right now the Niners are a mess, but I was like, I just don't trust myself there. But I went Raiders getting 2.5 against the Broncos. The Broncos have, I don't know. I think they're due to have a bad week, and the Raiders, as bad as luck's been going for them, they're due to have a good week, I think. So I'm going with the Raiders there. I'm going to kill myself here because I'm getting points, but I'm going with the Giants. This may be the only time I go with the Giants this year. And then I picked the Cowboys. And so far my record's 2-7. So anybody's out there, don't bet with me.
No, me neither, man. I got to be honest. Some of these games so far have gone the complete opposite as I've thought they were going to go. But how about nobody giving, the Bears any credit? I mean, I know they haven't played the toughest schedule, but they beat the 49ers in week 1 in the rain, and no one gave them credit. They're like, oh, that's the rain game. And then they beat the Texans, and now they're playing, the lowly Giants, and now you're not giving them a chance to win against the Giants. So, I don't know. My boy Justin Fields, everybody's ripping on him, but he's winning with nobody. So you got to give him some credit for that.
Yeah, well, I'll trade quarterbacks with you. I'll take Justin back.
Hey, you know what? They've got the same thing going though. The Bears receivers are. Which receiving core would you like right now? The Bears or the Giants?
Neither. But I mean,
Okay,
the fact that
thanks.
I trust Justin more, and Justin would help Saquon immensely.
Oh, I would take Justin Fields over Daniel Jones any day.
And then the other thing is he would help that offensive line because I think he's smarter than Daniel Jones.
Yeah, well.
So I mean, I'm nothing against Daniel Jones. I know he went to Duke, and nothing against Duke. But I mean, I was a Daniel Jones supporter, but he's got to show me something this year. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be all his fault in the end. I think he just does not have the team around him yet. He got Brian Daboll and the new GM too late. He had the Gettleman plan that didn't work, and you're going through coaches year after year after year, and that's just the way the ball rolled for him. So what do we got on man coverage on Sunday?
Yeah, we are going to break down week 5 in college football. We've got some pretty good games this week. We've got Alabama is playing Arkansas. That's a pretty big time game. We've got Kentucky playing Ole Miss. That is a pretty big game. We've also got Wake Forest versus Florida State. We've got NC State Clemson. So those are probably the 2 best teams in the ACC. And then we've also got a pretty good guest. We've got a former legend, R.W. McQuarters,
Wow.
former player from Oklahoma State, ended up playing a long career in the NFL, helped the Giants win the Super Bowl in, was it 2008?
Yeah.
And, was a do-it-all guy. Some people don't realize this, but R-Dub played basketball and football at Oklahoma State. He's from Booker T. Washington High School in Tulsa, which has produced some unbelievable athletes in both basketball and football. And he played everything for football for the Cowboys. He was a wide receiver. He was a defensive back, and he also returned kicks and was the number 1 kick return in the Big 12 at that time. So dude is a straight-up baller, and he's going to be on the show Sunday to help break down the Oklahoma State Baylor game, which is another huge game coming up this weekend.
All right. Well, it's game time. We'll be getting off the air and see you guys next week. Hey, buddy, hang in there. I hope everything works out for your houses down in South Carolina. Hope that it takes a right-hand turn out to sea.
Yeah, me and you both, because we've got 2 more trips planned down there this year, so it's going to be tough if there's nowhere to stay. So
yeah, that's for sure. All right, people, have a good night, and people down in Florida, hang in there. Hopefully better days are ahead for you. Take it easy, everybody.
all right, adios.